reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaways just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
I said Sean Rye East. I'm proud. That's Sean Rye East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. Phenomenal afternoon. Phenomenal afternoon. So we're always saying phenomenal morning, guys. Welcome to the Breakfast with the Brand. This is your afternoon crunch time, right? Crunch time, not lunchtime or brunch time, but crunch time. Bobby Jackson, how you feeling this afternoon?
Man, I'm feeling amazing. I'm feeling amazing when we talk about that crunch. That crunch is definitely serious. I feel like during crunch time, you find out who your players are. You find out who your players are. And I've been clutch, a couple of times, and then sometimes I've hit the brick. So it's just really knowing that greatness and the lesson are all in the same moment. So when we talk about crunch time, I just want to keep myself neutral, keep myself focused, and say that it's just another one of those where you got to be 100% locked in. So I love that we're doing these.
Very good. Very good. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say that in crunch time, you find out who you are. In crunch time, we find out who we are. So watch this. I just went live on Facebook, right? So I go live on Facebook. I get done, maybe 2 minutes real quick, something real quick. I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to knock this out real quick and jump on to the next thing. So I go live real quick, and then I shut it off, and I look through the comments, and the woman is like, I can't hear anything. I said, oh, you can't? I said, what? I said, okay, no problem. So I said, this is beautiful because the topic today is supreme confidence. That's the topic, supreme confidence. You must have supreme confidence to start your business. And a lot of people start with supreme confidence, but then they lose their confidence in crunch time or in various situations in business. They lose it, right? Think about how many master's degrees there are as opposed to bachelor's degrees. It's a lot more bachelor's degrees than master's degrees, and there's a lot more master's degrees than PhDs. A lot of people write ebooks, but not everybody finishes a book, right? A lot of people start their business and get to 6 figures, but don't get to 7. Some people get to 7, but don't stay there. The difference between people who are massively successful in their business and in their career, as opposed to those who are just present, is supreme confidence, right? So I go live. Woman says, I can't hear you. I said, wow, okay, I'm ready to run off to the next thing. But I said, hold on, Sean. You just did a video on supreme confidence. You got to pull it back, rewind the tape, do it again, and let them see what supreme confidence really looks like. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to go live on one platform. I'm going to go live on 10 platforms. Right? So we're on live. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and 3 places on Facebook right now, right? So double the trouble. I said, let me tag somebody, bring somebody in. So if you're not familiar with Bobby Jackson, you need to become familiar with Bobby Jackson, CFO, growth specialist. Bobby, that's what we're talking about today, supreme confidence. We'll talk about supreme confidence and how confidence has helped you go from 0 to 400% revenue increase. What does that look like?
You know, the confidence I found it's almost like everything. It's like if you don't have it, you almost have nothing. And that's what I was learning and realizing is a lot of entrepreneurs that were with me coming up in the ranks, like some of the things that I saw that separated us was that we were all doing it for the same reason when we started, but those people who had a certain reason kept going. And I want to tie all of this back to confidence because it's huge. What I realized, because I'm always doing the exercises that you've given, I was working on going deep last night into myself. Like, I got to go deeper. And when I went deep, I realized something in me. And it was that I had abandonment issues. I had self-love and self-worth issues. And I had, I got my notes right here. And I had cowardice. I was cowardice. I was weak, self-conscious, and abandoned, right? And I was going deep. And as I was going deep, I was realizing, I was like, how did I get like this? And I was looking at all the people that were put in charge of me. They were all lacking value in themselves, from be it my parents, be it my school system, be it the community I was in. So since everybody had a lack of value, they had to kind of put other people under them to feel valuable. So as all of these people are pushing me down so they can feel something. And what I realized about confidence is that if society and life and the world stumps your confidence out and you try to get into business, you end up doing to your customers and your marketplace what other people did to you. You sell things you can't deliver on. You call yourself something that you're not. You show up with little man, little woman syndrome because you don't really know who you are, what you are, and you think the money's going to create value within you. And what I learned through this process, through supreme coaching by the phenomenal Sean Rais, is that you got to deal with those things at your foundation, because that's where a lot of that confidence comes from. So I was doing an exercise, coach. So that was an excellent question. I was doing that exercise last night, and it's everything.
You know something, brother? I had no clue that we was going to go this deep. Like, I really didn't. I had no clue whatsoever that we was going to go this deep, or that you were going to be so transparent. So thank you for that. Like, seriously, because I'm sure that many people who come across this video are dealing with those issues of abandonment, loss, right? So we know what the single parent family looks like. It looks like the model, the origin story. Like, that's almost everybody's story, where we come from. Single parent, grew up without a father. This was the abandonment issues. Like, they were there, but they might not have been there presently, right? So you're not alone in that. Everybody, and myself included as well. My mother and father separated, came back together later. So I've gone through those issues and those situations. And name the 4 again. And guys, if you're out there watching this, just put it in the comments or put it in the chat if you agree with this or if you can relate to this. any one of these 4?
My 4 was that I was cowardly and had a habit of cowardice. My second one was I was weak and weak-minded, lacking assertiveness. My third was I was self-conscious and just did not have confidence within myself. And that fourth one was I was feeling abandoned. I felt like loss was the rule and not the exception.
Now let me just provide a little context, right? So this is a lot of heavy content, but I want to provide a little context before somebody gets it misconstrued or doesn't understand. You have a specialization and a criteria within the military. What is that? What is your designation and ranking? Just so everybody understands.
Oh, absolutely. Staff Sergeant of Marines. When I served 12 years, 2 deployments, 1 in a combat zone.
So you're a licensed carrier, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
And then some.
And some.
And some. And trained and, critically acclaimed at the same time. Stars and stripes, banners, and all that good stuff. Decorated, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
But could you repeat that number 1 again? That first one that you said again?
Number 1, cowardly in my youth, a habit of cowardice.
Just so that everybody understands, like, you can be decorated, you can have all these different situations and start your business and, run through the gates and, be a master's degree holder or a book author and all of those beautiful things, married with children, and still have those underlying issues that business will bring out of you. Right? Business will show up in multiple different ways on multiple different fronts and kind of play the keys on you. Right? So it is the grand exposer. Business will expose you unlike anything else. And when it does, you need the people around you that can kind of sense or see what you can't see about yourself. Because you got to be able to put a name on it. So you need someone around you that has that kind of X-ray vision so they can see the underlying issues, because you just might not want to go live. I remember when we did Branded Like a Leader 1.0, and I was like, everybody has to go live. And everybody was like, what do you mean go live? And I'm not going live. The reality is you're not comfortable being seen. You're not comfortable being seen. So I see people on business media. We call social media business media for those who are not acclaimed and acquainted with our language. We don't call social media. We call it business media, because while some people are posting cakes, cats, and candy and kids, some people are making tons of money, millions of dollars, multiple millions of dollars, and changing lives. So you get to make a choice whether you're doing social media or business media. That choice is up to you. However, we choose to do business media. So again, Bobby, when I told everybody, you got to go live, you got to get your face out there, people were like, hold on. That was like deer in the lights, like deer in the headlights. Hold on, Sean, what do you mean go live? And all of these underlying issues began to emerge. All of these underlying issues began to emerge. And as the coach, now it's my job to keep my fingers to the pulse of the people and kind of lift up the covers and pull back the veil and lift up the hood and see what's going on with the engine. Because you've got the competencies, you got the competence, but you don't have the confidence, right? So a lot of people suffer from this supreme confidence gap. Because I guarantee you this, and you know this very well yourself, and as you're listening to this on the outside, you'll be able to see it too. People can have very little talent, very little skill set, no degrees, no experience, no expertise, and sometimes very small ethics. But they have huge confidence and they make a ton of money and a ton of impact. Hopefully somewhere they find the ethics and they get right? But there's so many people that are crushing it right now in business that don't have all of the competence that a lot of the people that follow us do. Master's degrees, Army background, mother of 4 for so long, like 20 years. I tell people all the time, like, your experience, your education, and your expertise is what will take you from zero to hero, from bland to industry leading brand, and from crickets to digits, and make you rich. There's riches and niches beyond your wildest dreams. So you don't have to have a master's degree to be successful. You don't need a PhD. You don't even need a GED to be successful. But you do need supreme confidence. Or when you come up across that first thing that stops you, you're going to stay frozen as opposed to get through it. Right? So I just want to talk to the people right now for a couple of minutes about supreme confidence and the deterrence. So let's talk for a moment about the gaps. What were some of the gaps that you experienced because of those confidence gaps? What were the business impacts? How did it show up in business?
Oh my goodness. Couldn't close a door. Like I couldn't close anything. Like when it came to confidence gaps, it's almost like you can lie with your tongue, you know, and a lot of people do. You get skilled at that from age 3 on up. Did you take that? No, I didn't take that. Did you do this? No. So when you get on the camera and you're asking for things that you know, I don't want to use the words you know you don't deserve, but let's say if you have ethics for earning things and you haven't put in the work to earn something and you ask for something you haven't earned, then the words may roll off the tongue. You've got practice with that. But the body seems to do its own thing. Like the body's not as easily deceptive. You know, you can say one thing with your mouth, but your eyes will do something. You can say one thing with your eyes and your head, but then your hands will do something. And when you are on camera with these individuals that are getting ready to part with something that they've worked very hard for, their state of alertness is very, very high, you know, subconsciously or consciously. So I found one of the biggest gaps for me when I had that confidence gap was that, oh, and I'll add this, competence leads to more confidence. You've taught us that and you continue to teach that. So one, it was not being competent was a gap in the closing process, but then it was not being confident in what I was closing the people on, which was also a gap. So for me, one of the biggest gaps was bringing money into the business because I simply couldn't close business because I had 2 significant gaps, competence gaps in the process of closing. Thanks to closing like a leader, I was able to fill that gap. And then gap 2 was a lack of confidence in being the person that could deliver the program or the service.
Very good. Very good. For those of you who are not acquainted with what Bobby's talking about when he says unable to close a door, he's talking about closing a sale, right? Closing a sale and bringing revenue into your business consistently, because revenue is the lifeblood of business. A lot of us have all of the competence, all of the skills in the world, but it's so easy for us to get caught up in what I call the employee trap. And when I say the employee trap, what I mean is that someone else, an organization is closing business for you. So you get a check. And it's a trap. If you choose to stay there, that's fine, but it really is a trap, because when you circumvent the organization and you take your skill set direct to consumer, you get to take the lion's share of the entire thing and then pay taxes at the end of the year. That's what gives you the ability to make investments and change the state of your affairs. And please understand, like, no organization is going to give you enough money to just leave or successfully start your own business on the side while you're there. There's all kinds of conundrums and, hurdles that you have to hop over and things you have to do kind of on the sly, having multiple browsers up or whatever the case may be, or hiring other people to build your business and trying to implement all of the systems possible so that you can have something going on while you're also paying for your needs, wants, securities, and all of those things. Right. So, but however, let me just say this. If you're making 40K, 50K, 60K, as an employee, if you were an entrepreneur going direct to consumer and you had the confidence to introduce your values, your morals, your principles, and your competence directly to consumer, you literally add a 0 to the back of your revenue. So that's where add a 0 comes from. When we say, okay, we add a 0 to the back of your revenue and help you make your yearly income monthly, your monthly income weekly, and your weekly income daily, all you really have to do is go direct to consumer with the skills and the talents and gifts that you're already giving to the organization. Have you found that to be true?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
Now watch this. When you get better and better and you begin to compile skills upon that original skill set that you get paid the 50 or 60 for, you'll change the 6 into a 7, or the 7 into an 8, or the 8 into a 9. So instead of making 60, you'll make 600. And then instead of 600, you'll make 900. And we're talking about thousands of dollars annually. Only by going directly to consumer and then beginning to stack some skills, additional skills on top of your original competence. However, if you don't have the supreme confidence, you'll continue to knock on a door or send an email and ask if you can get your vacation time at the same time that your spouse has theirs. Or you'll be doing things like asking permission fearfully to participate or attend your daughter's graduation. Right? So it's the same thing in business. When you get in business, you can't send an email fearfully asking for a sale or trying to convince someone of something that you're not convinced of yourself. And that's real important, because a lot of times we'll overcome objections in business, but when we're not in alignment and incongruent, when our confidence isn't in the right place, it won't sound like we're trying to convince the client of the value. It'll really sound like you're trying to convince yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're not convinced, no one else will be. So let me share a couple of mine. You've been so forthcoming and so transparent, Bobby, is absolutely phenomenal, right? So everybody should know my style, my history and pedigree. And if you don't, I always say I'm just used to be a kid from Harlem who God chose to show his favor and mercy through, grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, and made a lot of bad decisions and kind of stayed in the consequences of those bad decisions for an extended period of time. Now, why did that extended period of time happen? The extended period of time happened was because I had competence. I had a competence, but the competence didn't serve me anymore. And I didn't have the confidence to realize or apply skills that were transferable to move into another space. You understand? I didn't have that supreme confidence that said, hold on, I've got to make a shift here because these competencies that came from where I grew up no longer serve me. So I got to do something different. And it wasn't until I met my wife that the love overrode the lack of competence. And my confidence grew, and I said, this is not something that I could do. Guys, listen to me. If you're an employee right now thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, this is not something that I could do or should do. This became something that I had to do. Right? So if you've got that calling in your chest, like you were born for more, built for more, you've outgrown your surroundings, it's because you're being called for something bigger, something higher, something greater. And it's a different version of yourself that is required. It's a more confident version of yourself that is required to walk through those new doors, to become someone new, to become someone more valuable, to become someone more empowered so that you can empower other people. And I believe this 1000%. Steve Harvey said, your employment or your career is what you get paid for. Your calling is what you were made for. Your competence will get you paid. Your confidence will help you do that which you were made for. And I'm going to take a break on that. I just want that to kind of resonate. I want that to sit in, guys. So think about what we just said. If you have any ideas, thoughts, whatever, put them in the comments. Let us know where you're listening in from and whatever confidence gaps you might be experiencing yourself so we can close those for you live in real time. Let's grow. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I don't talk theory, I don't talk hyperbole, I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G-Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Sean Rais. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
All right. So listen, welcome guys. We are back in that crunch time, that clutch time, right? Hopefully it's your lunchtime. You're able to take a little break and get some freedom and just listen to, a couple of experienced people, couple of experienced veterans in business trying to help you to excel and push boundaries and break through barriers in your business when it comes to revenue, when it comes to client acquisition, when it comes to sales acquisition, and all of these phenomenal things. So Bobby, when you were able to begin to assimilate the confidence and apply the supreme confidence to your business model, what are some of the outcomes that you experienced? What are some of the results from becoming more confident in yourself and in your brand and in your business?
Man, the power of attraction, I would say, was huge. So when I was self-conscious and lacking in confidence, I attracted similar identities and energies, and that's in the form of clients and team members, and I didn't have many friends in that sense. Like, I'm more of a small circle kind of guy. So my circle was strong. However, when you're in business and you're starting out and stuff like that, it's like your circle changes so frequently. It's like each stage kind of brings with it a slew of relationships and new growth kind of comes in. So I say that to say I was just being introduced and assimilated with weak people, for lack of better terms. Now, I don't want to say weak people like, oh, you're weak, but it's like, it's a mind state. It's a habit of showing up. Right? Like, if you show up in ways that you don't find strong, then, it's the alternative. And so that was one thing. That was one thing I saw. But the stronger I got and the more confident I got, the more confident people came to me. The more confident clients came to me. And I like to tell you guys something about confident, strong clients and self-conscious, not so strong clients. So self-conscious clients can usually pay the first invoice. They can probably pay the second. But the moment the third and the fourth come and they're not really seeing what they expected, that self-consciousness kicks in. And what my coach always taught us was, some people need a coach, some people need a couch. The point when they're like, hey, I this and I that, and I don't, you really can't bend too much and still be ethical. Because you can't give them all kinds of sweet deals, just because. But, you try to help people when you can, but it's just they make business difficult because you want to help them, but you can't break the rules. So those types of relationships can be pretty draining on you. And then they create constraints in your cash flow. But when you attract more confident, strong, resilient clients and customers, then you find that cash flow stabilizes. You find that things start to compound, and that 400% growth really came from that, Coach. It came from me developing myself through competencies that were being taught in the community, and then just being assimilated around other people that were competent and confident in the area. And it really helped out, and is the reason we're in business today. Because had I kept the level of confidence that I had, we definitely would not be here right now.
Wow. Whew. So if you're watching this, this might be one of the reasons why you haven't taken the leap yet, right? Or this might be one of the reasons why you jumped in and jumped out. You know, people jump in and put their toe in the pool all the time, and I tell them, listen, just if you really want to learn how to swim, then what you need to do is take a walk to the deep end with someone who has been there before and doesn't have so much worry like you do, like you may. Right? So I tell people all the time, I say, put your hands in your pockets and welcome me to down here to the deep end. You're going to learn how to swim today, because I'm going to push you in the water. And you're going to find that you're more resilient than you think you are. Definitely. That's a guaranteed fact. You will learn how to swim, but the only way you learn how to swim is by swimming. You can't learn how to swim outside the water. That's called theoretical. That's called theory-based instead of evidence-based, right? The only way you're going to succeed at business is not to getting an MBA, as much as people would like to say that or think that. I've had multiple instructors in school who were qualified to be instructors, but not qualified to be business owners or multimillionaires or any of those things. They were actually giving us case studies from people who were entrepreneurs and did take the risks and did take the leaps and did have the supreme level of confidence. And I saw the gaps. I saw the gaps immediately. And I said, hold on, do I want to be somebody, because I'm in college, right? And I said, do I want to be somebody who's a scholar on dollars, or do I want to become a dollarly and scholar practitioner? Right? Because I have an option. Guys, you have an option. If you're in business right now, you have an option. If you're employed, you're halfway in business. I tell people this all the time. I say, listen, if you are renting, you're in real estate. You just might be on the wrong side of it. So if you're an employee, you're in business. You just might be on the wrong side of it. There's a whole world out here, and that's the world of the people that you probably never see on the floor, like the CEO or the CFO or the COO. Like, you probably don't see those people just walking around milling about because they're on a boat. They're living their best life. They're at the game. While you're going to bed early trying to get there at 9 o'clock in the morning so you can show up and clock in and get your 10% or 5% or whatever the case may be, they're enjoying their best life. So when I was a student and an employee, I said, hold on, I see more. I see gaps. I've got to grow my confidence, right? I've got to grow my confidence so I can step out there. Because I don't think it's as scary as they make it seem. I don't think it's a shark-infested pool. I think there's stones, and I think there's barnacles, and I think you can get caught up. But I think there's also massive success out here if we're willing to take the leap and swim out a little bit further from the shore. So this is the thing, guys. The closer to the shore that you stay, the more likely it is that you get out.
Ooh.
The easier it is to get out. So what I did was I always cut the ropes. I always cut the ropes and burned the boats. I always made sure that I swam out to the middle of the ocean where I couldn't see land at all. Because that's when you learn how to swim. You don't learn how to swim in the 3-foot pool, the kiddie pool. We're grown. We got families. We got kids. And we get to have an option, right? So Bobby spoke about abandonment issues and parentage and all those things. This is the beautiful fact that I realized as an adult. We don't get to choose who our parents were. But as I wrote in my first book, The 7 Prerequisites to Success, we get to choose who our children's parents will be. That's on us. So I didn't inherit a legacy, and I didn't inherit a business, and I didn't see my father and mother owning a business. But I said, you know what? My children need a different vision. They need a different parentage. They need a different system. They need a different upbringing. They need a different example. They need a different example of what leadership looks like when it comes from someone who's been through what they've been through and came from where they came from. So I took it upon myself to gain the competencies, and that's why you see those 3 master's degrees over there. That's what they are, 3 master's degrees, and that's why I'm in 2 doctorates, and that's why we have the 3 books, and these are why the reasons why we've done the things that we've done and made the investments and taken the hits. You're going to have to take some hits, but in order for you to win some championships, you got to take some hits, and you got to get in the ring. You got to get in the ring. Now, people look at some people, and we're going to close this off real quick. I mean, about next 15 minutes. I don't want to stay too long. But what I do want to say is that a lot of times people will mistake your confidence and courageousness for arrogance. And sometimes you're fearful of that. Don't be. Don't be, because this is why they call it the 1%. They call it the 1% because there's very few up there. Like the air is thin. So when you hear someone speaking clearly and looking at you in your eyes, some people get intimidated and other people get offended because they're not used to being looked in the eyes and spoken to with a gruff or their hand shaken too hard. You understand? But it's not assault and it's not offense.
Yeah.
It's confidence. And I was listening to Coach Prime, right? Deion Sanders recently say the same thing. He said, don't mistake my confidence. He said, don't let my confidence insult your lack of self-esteem.
Oh my.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I said, when I heard it, I said, oh, I said, now this is what I'm talking about. He said, don't allow my confidence to insult your lack of self-esteem. Don't let that happen. Don't let my confidence make you look away from the sun because you're not accustomed to the light. Get accustomed to the light and walk over here, because I guarantee you someone's been lying to you about what you can do in business. Someone's been lying to you about what you can have in your life. Someone's been lying to you thinking that, and I had these misconceptions, Bobby. I had these misconceptions myself. I said, I'm confident in the street, but put me in school, I'm lost. I'm done. Like, I'm toast. They're going to get me like I'm a victim. I really thought that I was a victim, and it took me falling in love with my wife and being willing to become a victim that allowed me to realize, hold on, I'm way better than I thought was possible. I believe the hype. Guys, don't believe the hype. Ask yourself right now, what hype am I believing that's not true? What have they told me about my pay range that I believed? What did they tell me about my tax bracket? What did they tell me about the vehicle that I'm supposed to drive? And what did they tell me about some people on TV that are supposed to have that I'm not supposed to have? And why is that? And then ask yourself the most important question. What are you going to do about it?
Wow. Like, I feel like there was so much there, but the thing that stuck out to me the most was, what did they tell you and why? Because as I was going back through my library of experiences, if you will, and just getting down there, I started asking myself that question. I was like, why would they do me like that? Why would they tell me that? Like, why would they treat me like that? And what I ended up finding out was that somebody told them that, or someone treated them like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of like let an alarm go off for me, because a lot of times we can feel oppressed. And I'm not saying that we're not, and that certain communities are not, but I'm saying that perspective is important. When we think about being oppressed, we think about someone actively oppressing us and just holding you down. But I feel like that's a bit dangerous, a bit dangerous of a perspective. I find that acknowledging oppression is fine, but it's better to acknowledge it and say, but they can't keep me down. Like they can't actually oppress me. Like, it's most likely a system. If I can understand the system, I can circumvent the system. It's not like any individual holding me down. It's not like anyone has immobilized me. But when we take on certain identities and we take on, I'm being oppressed, my people are oppressed, that verb tense makes the subconscious feel as if you're being actively restrained, when the reality is you've created a prison within your own mind. So what you have to do simply is say, oppression exists. That's a fact. Okay. What does that fact mean to me? Nothing. It means nothing, because I can stack my competencies, build a system that works for my family and ours, build a system that works for my community and my country, I can build just like they built. Like, what makes them any different than me? And when you start building, you realize that oppression, it's a system. So build your own. Build a system that beats the system. They say can't beat them, join them. Now you see why so many people are employees, because they never got with the coach necessary to teach them techniques to beat them. If you can't beat them, like, hear me, if you can't beat them, join them. So what do most people do? They say, I can't beat this. So they join they drink the Kool-Aid. They take their W-2, they take their, 2 weeks vacation, and then they pray that everything goes well for their kids, right? But there's a select group that I think is the group that we're talking to today that say, I'm a fighter. I am the captain of my own ship. I believe in myself. And even if I don't believe in myself to the degree that I want to, I have the faith of a mustard seed. I got something, and you take that to the bank. And you're like, hey, I need a coach. I need somebody teach me how to fight, because that's what it really is about. Like, you got to fight. Like, if you don't fight, what do they say? Anything worth having is worth fighting for. Is freedom worth having? Then you bet your behind it's worth fighting for, right? So that was what stuck out to me, Coach. Like, I just love the direction we're going in, and I know we're wrapping up, but are you really oppressed is my question. And if it really exists, what does it mean to you? Like, if it means nothing, then do something.
One of the things that I had to see, right, for me, based on what you're saying and kind of staying in that vein, because I was in one of those places, it was antithetical. It was anti-success. It was anti-success. I was in such a warped victim mentality. I had to take my aggression and make it assertive. So I had the mentality that I'm not going to become a part of that system at all, as opposed to saying I'm going to become smart enough to figure it out and beat it or play chess. I was fine with playing checkers. I was fine with, doing the least as opposed to doing the most. A lot of people say that now, like, Sean, you doing the most. You everywhere. We see you everywhere. Like, every time you send emails all the time, guys. You might have unsubscribed to our stuff because we send it all the time. That's okay. We'll catch you when your mind gets right, right? You'll subscribe again, right? Listen, you'll subscribe again. And if you don't know me and this is your first time seeing me, then I apologize for that. I haven't marketed hard enough, and I'm working on that. I promise you, I guarantee you I'm working on that. And you're going to see me a lot more now, right? Subscribe to us, like us, click on our stuff, subscribe to everything that we do, because I guarantee you, just by, like Bobby said, just by engaging with the sun and looking at it long enough, you're going to get a tan. Just by engaging with confidence, you will become confident by default. Just by engaging with success, you will become successful. Success will become you. We are contagious in the right way, right? Manhood is contagious in the right way. It's okay. It's okay to think different. Like, it's okay to have your own mindset and have your own ideas about things, guys. The link in the bottom is for Branded Like a Leader 2.0. We are launching. I am extremely excited because, lightning does strike twice in the same place, right? So 4 years ago when COVID took place, we said, you know what? And I did a pulse reading of the people. The confidence was down. People's confidence was hit. They didn't know what to do. They were being oppressed by the TV and the multiple death rate, right? And the lack of employment and the lack of financial security and financial confidence. And they needed something to do. They said, what do we do? And nobody was returning their calls. It's like everybody just said, shh, and got in the corner and tried to wait it out. And I said, you know what? I took my phone and I went live and I helped people. And it's that time again. Right? It's that time again, because if you forget where you've been, then history will repeat itself. Right? So, but as we're seeing now, there's a gap in the economy, and there's a gap again in the financial confidence sector, and people are still kind of settling for less than they could possibly have. Some people have been put back to sleep and lulled into a sense of security, a false sense of security that doesn't really exist. So we're back again to kind of knock on your door, wake you up, open up the reality that, nothing is guaranteed, guys. Nothing is guaranteed except the breath that you're breathing right now. Like if you've got that opportunity, then you better use that opportunity of a lifetime in the lifetime of the opportunity. And do that which is going to help you to become self-sufficient and independent and be able to have your income, your impact, and your independence. And that is building your own business. That is becoming master of your fate, chooser of your destiny, and supremely confident. Competent in knowing what you need to know, and supremely confident in that which you have to do and that you have the ability to do it. So if you're listening to the sound of my voice and you've been successful in whatever it is that you've been successful in, then you have the ability to take those life skills and transfer them over into business. And that's what we help people do. Take their education, experience, and expertise and turn it into impact, income, and independence. Add a 0 to your number, which means your revenue, and make your yearly income monthly, your monthly income weekly, and your weekly income daily. This happens to an extremely high degree, and it happens in Branded Like a Leader, and 2.0 is beginning today. So that's the link right there if you have any inclinations. Bobby, I think we're going to come back again next week at the end of the month. So watch this. At the end of the month, we'll be here. Right at the end of the month, we'll be there at the Ultimate Brand Challenge. So some of you might say, oh, well, I don't know. I looked at the link and I looked on the page and Branded Like a Leader is like 5K and I'm not that confident yet. Okay, great. No problem. If you're not that confident yet and you're not ready to invest in yourself, or you're behind the 8 ball to a degree where you don't have that kind of revenue to invest in yourself, that should be the reason why you should. That should be really something that you look into, like, whew, how can I be this age and have this degree of education and this degree of experience and this degree of expertise, but I don't have this degree of economy? That's not a reason why not to. That's a reason why you must.
Absolutely.
I know myself, when I looked at certain things and they wasn't right, I said, okay, that's not a reason for me not to do it. That's a reason for me to do everything I need to do to get myself in a position where I can say yes and afford my opinion. But if that's not the case right now, at the end of this month, the end of the third quarter, this is the third quarter of the year, you better track your numbers and you better track where you're at, because if you don't know where you are, you don't know how you got here, you'll be here for a long time. This is the end of the fourth. This is the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth. If your business hasn't done what it was supposed to do, if your brand hasn't done what it's supposed to do, if your confidence hasn't done what it could have done, take this opportunity to register for the Ultimate Brand Challenge. That's free. That's free. Let me say it again. That's free. Don't let us care more about your business and your brand and your family and your future than you do.
Man.
We're about to close out. We're about to close out. Go ahead and wrap them up, Bobby. I think we're going to come back again tomorrow and just, kind of calm them down. I think we might have shook them up a little bit. Tomorrow, calm them down a little bit.
That's what I was thinking. Literally, I was like, man, this put me back at the alien call.
Good.
I remember that's what it felt like sometimes. Like I was on the outside looking in, and I was like, man, how am I like a sergeant or I was staff sergeant? How am I staff sergeant? Like 10 years in the military. My wife is still working. My kids are doing ABC. I still don't have a degree. Like it was crazy. But that 4 a.m. consistently getting up, time and time again, hearing real life possibilities. And here we are 2-3 years later, living those realities. It is surreal.
Wow. That is something. Yeah. That is something. So go ahead, give them a before and after, brother. Give them a little bit of before and after so they can dream build. Let them dream build. Let them see what it looks like through your eyes, brother, so they can at least see it.
Absolutely. So we talked about my 4 things, right? Just to really put it out there briefly. I know we're going to get out of here, but it's like what I was struggling with that I didn't know. The process, guys. The process helped me uncover this. Coaching is a future-focused, goal and action-oriented process. And it was the process of going through this that helped me get here. But before and after. So B9 characteristics and traits that I had not dealt with, nor did I know were there, was cowardice, weakness, self-consciousness, and abandonment. Now, I am a United States Marine at this time. You could be a PhD recipient holder. You could be a master's degree holder. You could have a management team and staff that you're in control of and still have benign qualities that are not serving you. And because you're so good at what you do, you haven't really gotten good at who you need to become, because becoming and doing are two different things. Like, this process is one of pressure and flames and pain, and that purifies. And when it purifies, you know, that stuff that you do that's real good, that's cool, that's sweet, it doesn't matter. It doesn't save you. It doesn't protect you from the pain and the flame. So when business really starts to expose, that's what it was doing for me. So cool, I was in the military. I thought I was cool. I thought I was sweet because I was first class this, first class that, sharp a shooter this, expert shooter that. So in that time in my life, I had got married to a woman with children. You might be at a stage in your life where you're leveling up, where you've gotten the gift of a lifetime, but you're squandering it. I could not be the husband my wife needed because I had things in me that I hadn't dealt with, and I hadn't been exposed to enough pressure to deal with them. Like Les Brown says that great life has a funny way of bringing greatness out of people. It's like Les Brown was on a job as a disc jockey, and he said he got fired from that job. And he got fired what he felt like unjustly, and he fought to get his job back, and he got fired again. And I say that to say this: you might be on your job, and you know, life or the powers that be may be trying to push you into a more pressurized environment because it's a greatness in you that's simply not going to be exposed in that environment. So that was me. I had a beautiful family that wasn't getting the most of me because I had gotten so accustomed to an environment that I learned to master while having my weaknesses. So when I got into business, I started to break down. When I got into business, chinks in the armor got exposed. When I got into business, so many things started to come to the surface. So then during this time frame, I was just conflicted because I'm painting this for you guys. Dream with me. If you're not where you want to be, you are where I was. Like, if you want your wife to not work because she has to chip in to pay the rent, you're in my position. I said rent, not mortgage. If you got a PhD and you're paying rent and not a mortgage, and you got a spouse working just to chip in like that, I didn't want that. I didn't want that. So I was like, okay, I need to do better. And then if you have kids that don't really respect you and you can't figure out why, see, I didn't know that my kids wasn't respecting me because I wasn't respecting myself. If you're doing something that you don't genuinely believe, I'll put it like this. If you're doing something that you believe is a less use of your talents, it's hard to give it 100%. It's like, if you feel like you should be doing more, you could be doing more, and you've settled for this, it's hard to respect yourself. And if you have kids or you're in a leadership position, be it in your home or elsewhere, it's very difficult to be respected by people when you don't respect yourself. So I had to deal with that. So as we fast forward a little bit, I said, there's got to be better. That something has got to change. And I started going to the lives. It was the alien call, 4 a.m. alien call. At this time, I'm like, I was conflicted. Like, I didn't know what to do. All I knew is I had skills, I had experience, I had expertise, and I had a life that I did not want. Like, I had a life and I was grateful, but it wasn't the life that I felt like my family deserved. So I'm going to the alien call. I'm picking up little tips. Anybody else got a YouTube degree? Anybody else go to YouTube University, right? So I'm doing all of this stuff.
That's right.
Doing all this stuff. And then, you know, I got a hold of something. You know, Sean was just going in. And I started to dream, guys. I started to dream. And as I started to dream, I started to hear him talk about things that him and his family was doing. And I said, he looks like me. He comes from, you know, a bit from where I come from. He's got a family about the size of my family. If he could do it, maybe. I mean, I didn't come from old Harlem. Maybe I could do it.
That's right.
So once I started thinking about that, before I knew it, I was on a call. But that call was the beginning of a transformative experience that I believe is going to span the rest of my life. And that's so powerful. Like there are certain encounters that you're waiting to have, but it's almost like you've got to take the first step. I love the good book puts it this way. You take one step in God's direction, he'll take 10 steps in your direction. So it's like draw nigh unto, and nigh draws unto you. So to tie it up for me, I had to take that step in the right direction. And what I got from Branded Like a Leader 1.0 was 10 steps in my direction. Overwhelmed was an understatement, but it was necessary. It was the only way to break. It was the only way to get enough. And then things got easier, better. And before I knew it, I was inside of Closing Like a Leader, keeping up, making things, get my homework in on time. It was like, it felt like a lot at the time, but at the end of the day, it was just pressure, exposure. And now 3 years down the road, I own my home. I have a mortgage now. My wife doesn't work because she has to. She don't pay no bills. Like, she does what she wants to do with her money. Paid her car off, got her another one. Paid my car off, and my kids go to private schools. Not just one of them, not two of them, all three of them. My kids go to basketball camps, not the lousy ones, but the good ones. And they have amenities, guys, and it all started with a decision. So I know I was a bit long-winded there, but I did want you guys to see, that it was rough, because I just had things that needed to be dealt with, and you have to go through a process sometimes to uncover them.
Whew, absolutely phenomenal, Bobby. Thank you again for being so transparent, so giving, and so vulnerable and authentic, humble and honest. Like, integrity is not a problem for you. A lot of times integrity is a problem for us because we have this thing called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when we know we're doing something that's beneath our capability. And when it's beneath our capability, we have to create a story. We have to create a story that makes it rational. So that's where the excuses come in as opposed to execution. Yeah, and that's where we're going to go deep into that in Branded Like a Leader. But that's where the excuses come in as opposed to execution, and the stories, the tape. Roll the tape. Sometimes you got to roll the tape over and just say the same thing again and say the same thing again. And we tell this lie, and sometimes this lie becomes the truth for us, and we're no longer congruent. And like you said, we wonder why people don't align with us, and it's because we're out of alignment. And we're saying things that we don't believe, so our energy and our frequency is off. Simply put, guys, if you know that you were meant for more, if you know that you're playing the game lower than you could be, if you know you were born for more, meant for more, and you want to add some more zeros to your revenue, you want to add some more impact to your life, and you want to add some more time to your freedom, then I seriously can honestly say that Branded Like a Leader is second to none. And the only thing that we're going to be talking about in Branded Like a Leader primarily, we're going to go through all of the psychology as we do all the time with every single course that we do. We're going to go through all of the ethics and all of the evidence-based principles and practices, but we're also going to be speaking directly to HNWIs. And that is high net worth individuals. How to become one, how to acquire one, and how to attract them primarily. So you don't have any revenue problems anymore, revenue gaps, and you don't need 100 different clients and 1 million different clients to make $1 million, because there's a lot of ways to get to $1 million. The worst one, in my opinion, is 1 million clients at $1 a piece. One of the best ways, and one of the ways that you will enjoy your life, is 4 of them at $250K. That's all I've got to say about that. You guys make the next decision. Make sure it's your best decision. I think we're going to see these people tomorrow. I think we'll come on again tomorrow, and you could talk about what the first class looked like. I mean, okay? You come back and tell us what of what the first class looks like. Go ahead, say goodbye to the people, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow, probably 1 o'clock. We're going to pop up. So follow us because you never know what we're going to do or when we're going to do it. We're authentic like that. Super spontaneous. That's my nature. Let's grow. Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with a personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Sean's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and just love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Sean is the bomb.
What you're looking at right now is the new face of leadership. I chose to go the route of SOE, Standards of Excellence. So I help people put zeros behind their numbers. I help people move up in or out of their organization and get paid their annual income monthly, their monthly income weekly, and their weekly income daily. I promise you, if you follow me at all, you're gonna wanna use something to write with. CSA first, CSA. Clarify, simplify, and amplify. Clarify, simplify, and amplify. It starts with a decision. Who do you wanna be and what do you wanna do? Who do you want to be? You have to define that. If you don't know, then it's vague and it'll never be clear. The problem that we have is clarity. We walk into an organization happy to be there, happy that they accepted us, but we don't have a clear goal. That's why people stay in the same organization year after year after year, go to the same vacation spots with the same people and talk the same amount of nonsense around the same water cooler. So when I go into an organization and someone says they've been here for 20 years and they're still around $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, I'm like, whew, it's chilly. It's a little bit cold when I know that all it takes for you to raise your prices, whether it's inside or outside of an organization, is self-belief and dedication. Brand you and not what you do. So when I meet people, I ask people, tell me a little bit about yourself, and they immediately tell me what they do. That's not who you are. Branding is who you are. Marketing is how people find out about you. So when you say, I'm a photographer, you just lumped yourself in with a million other photographers. What's special about you? Why should I work with you? I don't need a hand with a camera. I need a man with a story, a woman with a goal, a vision. Someone with an idea of where they want to, what they want to be and who they want to impact in their lives. That's what moves me. We know where we belong, whether we're in that seat or not. We heard the word legacy and we were pulled to come. I flew in last minute. Let's go. Leadership, legacy, love. Whew, I gotta be there. So what happens in marketing is when you say, I am you put yourself in what we call a red sea. You're now fighting against a million competitors with a million different things. Clarify, who are you? What do you stand for? And then simplify it, don't make it 10 things. Bruce Lee said, I do not fear the man who has thrown 10,000 kicks. He says, I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. You can have the most mouth-watering steak that the world has ever seen, but if you try to position it or place it in a vegan neighborhood, you make no money. Who are you trying to market to? Sometimes we don't support each other. Sometimes you got to go outside of your community, outside of your neighborhood, outside of your phone book to find someone who will support you. So if your business is hurting, think about the place that you're trying to move, whatever it is that you're moving, and the people that you're trying to sell to. You want to become the OVO. The OVO is the only viable option in your vertical. The only viable option in your vertical. We're not here for competition. We're here for domination. We're here for domination. Period. And if you feel differently, you're probably in the wrong room. Is anybody ready for the fifth one? Are you ready for the fifth one? Might want to capture this. Might want to capture this. For God's sakes, man, you're priceless. You're priceless. We should stand out because of price. Some people look for the lowest price. You're making a big mistake because you're defining yourself. Your success comes from mindset and perception. If you're competing over the lowest price, there's a problem. Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands. Train people. I'm going to leave you with this. We train people how to treat us when we meet us based on how we treat ourselves.